Hello everyone. So in this video I kind of want to talk about curving with Billy. The update is really close and I thought I'd go ahead and make a curving guide, but a very beginner curving guide. So I'm just going to say it right now. If you're competent with Billy, if you understand curving to some degree, I would suggest you click off this video. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't want to waste your time. But if you're a beginner, like very new to Billy, or you're just not as confident with curving, then I welcome you because this is probably the video for you. So the reason I want to make this video is because a lot of curve billy guides, they're very good, except one part. They're all really bad when it comes to actually telling you how to learn curving. Because a lot of curve billy guides will tell you, oh, go into pubs, just learn, you have to play the killer, you're gonna have to play the killer, yada, go to pubs, curve survivors in pubs. Horrible advice. Some of the worst advice you'll ever hear. And there is a better way. There is a better method. We are not cavemen. It is 2024. There is a better way to learn curving. So I will show you that in a few minutes. That is the reason I'm making this video. So let's go ahead and just begin. First, I want to talk about what exactly curving is. So basically when Billy goes into chainsaw sprint, at the very beginning of his chainsaw sprint, how do them yell there? At the very beginning of his chainsaw sprint, he has heightened sensitivity to allow him to curve or to turn his camera very quickly, more than what you could as if you're drifting as Billy. I will show that a little later, but I just want to give a sort of just a verbal explanation. So yeah, it's basically where you can turn faster with Billy at the very beginning of his chainsaw sprint. That is what curving is. You can use this to get downs. You can use this for traversal. You can use it for a lot, but that is a little advanced. Like I said, beginner tutorial. So that is all I'm going to say about curving, or what it is exactly. Now I want to go ahead and talk about add-ons really quickly, just because a lot of people say XYZ add-ons are best for curving, and I just kind of want to talk about it. Okay. So I kind of want to first talk about New Billy and his new add-ons. And you are okay to curve with any add-on that Billy has, except counterweight. I don't have it because I'm not on PTV, unfortunately. But counterweight is a brown rarity add-on, and it decreases your initial turn sends. Do not use this add-on. It is not good. It is very bad, actually, especially if you want to learn curving. Some people have made the argument, oh, if you're learning Billy, this is a good add-on for you, and that is just simply not true. Using counterweight to try and learn Billy, or try to learn Billy, not even just curve Billy, just to learn Billy, is kicking yourself in the nuts. If you don't have nuts, it's intentionally giving yourself period cramps. It is possibly one of the worst things you can do when you're learning Billy. And I mean, I don't like getting kicked in the nuts. I don't think you guys like getting kicked in the nuts or getting period cramps. So don't run counterweight. The only time people will ever run counterweight is if they're a not a Billy main and doing a daily, and they're a complete coward. So yeah, don't run counterweight. It is not worth it in the long run. You are simply kicking yourself in the nuts. So what would I recommend? Well, anything. Like I said, anything works. A lot of people say you need doom engraving or you need engravings of some sort, but that's not true. You can curve perfectly fine with base kit, and I will show that very soon. So yeah, add-ons don't really matter. Some make it quote unquote easier to curve, but you can literally curve with anything, and especially with New Billy, curving with base kit's gonna be much easier. So I would not worry about engravings. So yeah, that's about it for engravings. Really quickly, I also want to talk about overdrive. Overdrive curving is a much more advanced thing. So if you're here to learn about overdriving or overdrive curving, first of all, I'm not your guy. Second of all, this is not the video for it. So please, if you're here for overdrive curving, once again, I don't want to waste your time. Click off the video. One quick disclaimer I do want to make really quickly, and this is a very important thing. If there's anything you take away from this other than how to learn how to curve, it's this. Just because you are a good curve Billy does not mean you're a good Billy. I'll say it again. Just because you're a good curve Billy does not mean you are good at Billy. There's so much more to Billy than curving. There's zoning, there's map traversal, there's just game sense in general. There's a lot of stuff with Billy that comes after curving. Now, why should you learn curving first? Because once you learn curving, you can build upon everything else because you know how to curve. You can build on your mind games, you can build on your game sense, you can build on your zoning because you know how to curve. But you have to learn curving first because without learning curving, your efficiency with this killer will not be as great. And I know a lot of quote unquote curve Billy mains that, are decent with curving, but they don't know anything else about playing this killer, and it's very evident. So once again, I will reiterate this because I think it's very important. Just because you're a good curve Billy does not mean you are a good Billy. Being good at Billy really comes with a lot of time and practice. I don't even consider myself a good Billy because it comes with a lot of time and practice and is so much more than just being able to curve. It is so much more than being able to rotate your camera an X amount of degrees. There's so much more to it. So yeah, I just want to give that quick disclaimer because a lot of people have an ego because they can, curve with Billy when that's not necessarily what being a good Billy is about. It is a stepping stone. It is definitely one of the pillars of being good as Billy, but it is not the one and only thing that makes you a quote unquote good Billy. All right, cool. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and show you curving really quickly, and I guess I'll show you. Peace. All right, so we are here in Gas 7, and really quickly, I just want to show you what I mean, what curving is exactly. So this is Billy's. I'm first of all gonna go ahead and lower the audio here. My apologies. So this is, Billy's chainsaw sprint, right? We know what his sprint is, right? We all know how it works. But like I said, at the very beginning, you can curve and kind of break not break, but not necessarily break, but you can exceed the turn limit than what you may be expecting. Like I just did a 180 here, but now I'm slower and I'm drifting. Okay? So that is basically what curving is. You can curve about 180 degrees. Anything more than that is very ambitious. Like very, very ambitious. I kind of messed up there, so I couldn't 180 that. If you really want to curve more than 180, first of all, why? It is very unnecessary, so I would suggest not wasting your time with it. But if you really want to, you're going to have to do low pro stuff. But once again, beginner guide, so we're not even going to talk about low pro. And that's really about it. There's 180. You can do a 90. There you go. You can do like a 60. Is this about 60? Maybe like this. 60. There you go. And yeah, you can just do them all. Different type of degrees you can you can curve. The most being, well, practically the most being 180. Practically, okay? So yeah, that's basically curving and how it works. All right, so now I want to go ahead and talk about learning curving. So the problem with a lot of newer or a lot of Billy guides is that they're all very good when it comes to learning how to curve, or with the information they give. Sorry, the information they give about curving is very good. The problem is how they. I am so sorry. Okay, I'll just redo that. Alright, so now let's talk about actually learning how to curve. So the problem with a lot of Billy guides I see is that they have very good information, but they fall flat on one very important concept: how to actually learn curving. A lot of tutorials are actually very bad with it, because what they'll tell you to do is that go into a public game and just curve survivors in public games, which is not the best advice. At all, really. It's not good advice, and I'll explain why. A lot of people just have anxiety, or they just don't really want to deal with playing a bad killer, or a killer they are bad with, excuse me, in a public game, and then being egoed, or just relatively being told they're bad over a killer that is kind of hard mechanically, just to learn and stuff like that. So it's very bad advice because a lot of people don't want to go into pubs, because trying to curve a public survivor, it's funny because a lot of people will tell you, herder, haha, pub player bad, but curving pub players for a new Billy is very ambitious. It's a very intimidating thing, so it's not something that I would recommend anyone do. And if that's the advice you've been given, stop. Do not follow that advice. It's bad. So what should you do instead? I'm glad you asked. So here is an example. Here is a breakable wall. Cool, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and run into this breakable wall, but I'm going to aim at this little was that, like a storage shelf? That shelf, yeah. See how I vacuumed? And you're probably wondering, wow, yes, you can vacuum with Billy. That does not teach me how to curve. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that breakable wall, this breakable wall here, right? Now, this breakable wall, let's pretend it's our target. So we've defined a target here. It's this breakable wall. Now, let's get a goal. Let's say my goal is to turn or curve 90 degrees, so I'm going to go like this, into this breakable wall. Let's do that. Now, it wasn't perfect. You saw I kind of went here, but I got vacuumed into the wall. And you're probably going, like, what does that do? Well, the whole concept here is to get you to be more used to your curving window and how much time you have to curve. And the reason I use a breakable wall here is because it kind of gives you a sort of an outline of how well you're curving. Because some people might just do that without knowing it. Some people might, let's say you're trying to curve around something like this, for example, and you just bump like that, right? You just mistime it. So a breakable wall is just a good kind of reference point, and it kind of tells you, you know, first of all, what you are trying to aim for, and it gives you a target to aim for, and it makes it just so much easier to know that, right? Much easier, right? So there you go. The method I would use is to define a target and a goal. My goal was to 90 into the breakable wall, and I've done it. So now you're probably wondering, well, okay, that's done, but now there's no breakable wall here. What do I use for a target? And I'm glad you asked. The doorway. So now you just do the same thing, you 90, but this time it's in the doorway. Oh, my bad. So now your target is this doorway, and your goal is to 90 degree into the doorway. Very simple. Let's do another example. This truck. Let's say, oh, I might have to restart the game here soon. I apologize. I'll try to get as much done right now as I can. So, this truck is our target. And we want to, let's do a 180. I'm going to go ahead and 180. Let's say our goal is to 180 around this truck using our saw. Well, okay, we have defined our goal, which is to 180, and our target is this truck, so we're going to 180 around the truck. Oh, messed up there. That's perfectly fine. We're practicing, so don't sweat it. Messed up again. Once again, it's perfectly fine to mess up. You're only practicing. Come on, don't be so hard on yourself, you know? I haven't played Billy in a few days, so I am a little rusty, you know? There you go. But as you see, I did kind of mess up with the curve there. But it kind of gives you a type of, like, a sort of a realization of what you should be doing. If you're bumping here like I was, you have to think about what am I doing wrong and how I can fix that. So let's go ahead and just get more consistent with it. Okay, now we're getting more consistent with the 180. And that's basically what you want to be doing. You want to take your target, which in this instance is the car, and your goal is to 180 around it, and use that, and just keep working on it. And there you go. At some point, you'll get into how to curve, or like you'll get better at curving it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and end this recording because of the time and things like that, and I will be right back. I apologize so much. Alright, so I'm going to do one more example here, just to show it off. This is what I mean, and just in case you think, oh, what if there's no pallets, or if there's no breakable walls? That does not matter. It does not matter at all. So, in this example, we have Shack, and if your map doesn't have Shack, what are you doing? You can pick any map in the game and you chose one without Shack, come on. But here's an example we're going to do. So my goal is, or let me define my target first. So let me define my target. My target here, window, okay? My target is the window here. That window is a constant. You'll always have a window at Shack. If they somehow make a Shack without a window, I think we really have to talk about BHR's map design then. But we have a Shack. We have a window here, sorry. And my goal is to S-curve into this Shack window. And S-curve is when you use your chainsaw to do this, then this, right into the window. So that's our goal. Our goal is to S-curve into our target, which is the window. So let's do it. Oh, I bumped a little. I was a little too aggressive, I should say. So let's go ahead and do it again. There you go. So as you see, the whole idea to learn curving with Billy is to find a target and to give yourself a goal. Does that make sense? So your goal is to be what degree or what type of curve you're trying to do, and your target should be the object or whatever you're curving into. I hope that makes sense. But that is really it when it comes to examples. Now I want to give a few tips when it comes to curving with Billy. And the first one is to just swallow your pride sometimes. Sometimes people really, for some reason, have some sort of they have this sense of pride that they have to curve literally everything known to mankind. A good example would be, let's use this freaking garbage patch here. Do not curve this. Do not, for the love of God, curve this. Just back rev the survivor, and I'll explain why. Let's say you're curving this. This is already a really small structure, right? It has very complex geometry. It's a very weird shape. Or like this circle here. It may look simple. It is simple, but once again, it's so small that curving it is simply not worth it. Let's do something even weirder. This. Okay, let's do this. If you're gonna curve this, at least curve from this side, because if you're curving it at this side, like this is no, don't. I've seen so many Billies try to literally curve for 5 gens. They've wasted 10 minutes of their time trying to curve very uncurvable loops. And sometimes you just gotta swallow your pride, man. Or like, another example would be like LNT walls. Those are just so difficult to curve, and I promise you're gonna have less fun forcing yourself to curve something than, you know, going for the back rev, or just zoning them to be in a better position. Let's say, oh, but I don't want to M1 or something like that. Okay, zone them and make them go somewhere else. Like, let's say there's a pallet here. I break the pallet. Let's just say that's me breaking the pallet. I zone them this way, and now I have Sincar, so they can curve Sincar. Make sense? So yeah, swallow your pride. Some tiles are just not worth curving, and I promise you'll have more fun that way. Another thing, and this is a very big one, because a lot of quote-unquote curve Billy mains do this all the time. Don't overcomplicate your mind games. Mind gaming with Billy is very simple, and people make it look like the most overcomplicated thing in the world. And I'll show you what I mean. So I'll see a lot of Billy players just do this, and like stuff like this, and it just... why? Oh, I'm curve Billy doing stuff, but it's like, no, this is... no. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna just go do that. You don't need to overcomplicate it more than that. That's all you're doing. So yeah, don't do this. This is you having a seizure and then you just do that. That is stupid. What I would suggest instead is to keep your mind game simple and clean. So what I would say is try to keep it short. Do like this, that, and send it. That's all you need to do when in terms of mind games. Anything else is very unnecessary, and you don't need to do that. Another thing is, do not mind game for too long. Like, this amount of time that I'm mind gaming for, which is, I want to say, more than like 5 seconds. I'll say 10 seconds, right? Don't do this. You are wasting your time. And I have to reset the match. Great. Okay, well, I will cut back in a sec. Alright, we are back. So, going on to what I was saying. Don't mind game for too long. At most, your mind game should be maybe 2 seconds more than your charge bar. So, like, this is base kit, so 3 seconds. My maximum mind game time should be 5 seconds. Or, let's say, I'm using doubles, so we'll say 4 seconds. My maximum mind game time should be 6 seconds. I will explain why. If you're mind gaming for an unbelievably long amount of time, let's say, like, more than 10 seconds, really, you're essentially showing the survivor what you're going to be doing. Everything like, oh, not that many people know. Everyone knows about Curve Billy. Even freaking a 3-year-old, I don't know, John Dead by Daylight, there you go, knows about curving and Dead by Daylight. So they already know what they're expecting. So they'll know what they're doing. They'll leave the tile, or evidently what they'll do is they'll just keep track of where you're going and just outrun you. Everybody like, oh, you're just saying that because of base kit. No, no, no. This happens on doubles, on Doom, on Death. Literally everything this happens. So please, for the love of God, don't mind game for 10 years. Duration of your charge bar, and there you go. That's all you need to do. And if you think, oh, but I can't make my curves look cool, you don't have to. And if you really want to, you can. It's not that hard. But yeah, don't seize your mind game, and then also don't mind game for 10 years. It's not worth it. Me personally, I think it looks really ugly, and there's not that much skill in forcing a survivor to stay at some sort of tile for 10 years just so you can hit one curve, it's not very skillful in my opinion. So yeah, don't do that. So for the two things I've already said, learn when to swallow your pride and just zone them or go for a back curve or something. And then know how you're mind gaming. Don't seize your mind game. Don't mind game for 10 million years. It's not worth it. My last bit of information and my last thing that I'm going to say is do not compare yourselves to other people. Do not do this. It is possibly the worst thing you can do. I have over 35,000 saws in this game. So some people like to compare themselves to me. Or, I'll use Sofa Rex as an example, since he's a fairly big Billy content creator. They like to compare themselves to Sofa, they like to compare themselves to X, Y, and Z. Whoever. Heck, even Aughts. Some people even compare themselves to Aughts, which is a very weird one, but some people do it, okay? Don't do this. You are you. You will learn at your own pace. Just because you feel like, hey, I'm not doing crazy 180 mind games, or my saw control isn't good, that's fine. You are you. You're just starting to learn this killer, and you should first of all be happy that you're even picking up this killer. A lot of people don't do that, okay? And my advice for you, if you are one of those people that compare themselves to other people, celebrate your W. Celebrate what you do. Celebrate just using your saw even. Just celebrate using your saw for distance or whatever. Use it. Celebrate back curving. Just celebrate using your saw. And then maybe when you get better at curving, celebrate, doing your 90s. Celebrate your 90s because it shows you're somewhat competent with your saw. And, this will progress more and more, and then you'll be like, hey, oh, wow, that was really bad of me. But, it'll progress more and more to the point where like, hey, look at that, I can 180 now. So now you're celebrating your 180s. So do not compare yourselves to others. It's not worth it. Celebrate what you can do. Celebrate your own progress. And I promise you, you'll have a much healthier mindset when playing this killer. Because a lot of people, when they compare themselves to other people, they start to lose interest. They become demotivated because they're not as good as X, Y, and Z. And that is just not a good mindset, because then it really takes away from your own enjoyment of this killer. If I, 4 years ago, I should say, 4 years ago, compared myself to, I'm gonna say Sofa X because he was still relatively big at the time. If I were to compare myself to Sofa Rex or anyone from Syndicate at that time, actually, I wouldn't have gone as far as I am. So do not compare yourselves. Celebrate what you can do. Celebrate your 90s. Even celebrate your 60s. Celebrate the fact that you are learning curving, and you will have a much better time. Now I will say, what I've taught you today, what I've showed you today, will this help you improve versus actual real players? No. Will this improve your game sense against other players? Not necessarily. So then why would I teach you all of this? This is a beginner guide. And I think the biggest thing all beginners that want to learn Billy should know is his curving window. Because as soon as you understand his curving window, everything else comes together. Everything else literally comes together. You can learn game sense, you can learn mind games and all of this stuff on other killers, like Wesker, Blight, Nurse. You can learn all that stuff with other killers. But curving is a specific thing to Billy only. So trying to learn curving, you can't do it with any other killer. You can only do it with Billy. So why not focus on something that helps you curve the most? You know what I mean? So like I said, this will not teach you how to efficiently chase survivors as Billy. That is just something that comes with time. This is here to help you learn your curve window and how to actually curve with Billy. I want to give that very, very, very big disclaimer. Because, someone can 180 and be really good at 180 or just curving in general and still be a bad Billy. I've seen it plenty of times. A lot of quote-unquote curve Billy mains are, they're pretty good with the curve window. I think they're not amazing with it, but, they're relatively competent, but that does not mean they're good Billies. So, yeah, that was the last thing. And you know what? That gen was done at the perfect time, because that is all I have to really talk about today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you that are learning Billy, I hope your curve Billy endeavors go well, and I hope you just have fun time doing it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and I will see you later. Peace.